Hey, carissimi amici, welcome. I got one of my good friends, Danny Bortnick from Firefly Restaurant in Washington, D.C. It's a pleasure to have you with us. What are you making for us today?
Today we're making green eggs and ham. Taken from the Dr. Seuss book, this is my interpretation of what green eggs and ham would be. It's a spinach ham and cheese quiche.
Are you going to make it for me or are you going to talk about it?
I am going to make it for you.
You know, you're starting to sound like an accent, like you and me are like brothers. You got an Italian accent. No, I'm messing
I
with
pick
you.
it up easy.
I'm messing with you. Go ahead, show me what you got.
Okay, so in order to make the quiche, we have to start and make the dough.
All right.
In order to make the dough, we put flour, salt.
Are you going to put the
butter.
flour in there or are you still going to talk about it?
Okay, we put the flour
You are a rascal.
into the bowl, along with the salt
Uh-huh.
and butter.
Now, you do this at your restaurant? I mean, is this part of the menu that you have at the restaurant? When people come to see you, they can expect to actually have this?
This is on our brunch menu, and it's one of our most popular items.
Now, I'm making fun of you just because we're friends, but you really actually got the inspiration from the book?
I did. I like the food at Firefly to be food that evokes good memories. So we have pot roast, we have chicken pot pie, we have a lot of comfort food. And green eggs and ham, I think, makes people kind of think back to their childhood, remember reading the book, and you know, they get a nice element of surprise what it's actually going to look like.
I love the way you think.
So we're mixing the flour and the butter and the salt until it just kind of clumps together. And while that's mixing, we're going to whisk one egg
Okay.
with ice water and lemon juice.
All right.
And then we can add this liquid slowly to the flour and the butter and mix it just till it comes together as a,
I can
as
see
a
the
soft,
paddle is
shiny
slowing
dough.
down. It's almost there, I assume.
Almost there. And
Now, I know that you
There
were
we have it.
working like crazy right before I came. I think we have some made already.
yeah, so when the dough is ready, you want to put it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes and
Well,
chill
let's
it.
cover this because this is one of the biggest mistakes that all new chefs actually do. They think that you can pull it right out of there, boom, roll it right away, but it's not so. If you
Yeah.
don't chill it a little bit, it's an issue.
You need it to rest so that the flour and the butter, everything comes together so that when you roll it, it doesn't just fall apart and mash across your table.
There you are.
Okay, so we've taken this out just so it comes to room temperature again a little bit. And we're going to lightly flour the board.
My new board.
Yeah.
If I knew you were going to be this messy, I wouldn't have brought you over. My board. I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
Take the rolling pin and we're going to roll a large circle, large enough to fit over the quiche pan. So it's kind of a little bit of a process just to get this out the right size, but you want it to be one big continuous piece about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick.
Well, I see you keep turning, so you're maintaining the circle. That's part of the technique. Keep
Yeah.
turning it. Always keep it in mind it's going to be a circle, and this is how you keep the round shape.
It's easier to turn the dough than turn the entire table.
And also what I like is you're not concerned with the edges being somewhat ragged. That's part of the rusticity of it that you really like.
That's right. The edges are going to hang over the side of the pan and actually remain there while we bake it, which keeps the dough from shrinking back into the pan and changing the dough so it's not big enough to hold the custard when it's done. Okay, we're almost there. Maybe one more turn. The dough is really soft and tender, and that's the way you like it, so that it's not tough when you eat it. It should flake apart, and that's why it's mixed very, very briefly. And that's about right, and there we have it. There's the dough mixed.
So
Okay.
what we're going to do next, you're going to roll it on the pan?
So when the dough is mixed or rolled out, the easiest way to pick it up is roll it over the rolling pin. Pick it up. This is a 9-inch springform pan. Springform because it opens and closes. It's the easiest way to get it out when it's done being baked. Rolling it over the pan. And then we just gently set it in, leaving the sides overhanging. And you want to make sure that there's no holes. And it's okay if it falls in, you can pick it back up out of it.
What I like about it is you have no sense of panic. You know exactly what's going to happen. You push, you squeeze it on the outside, you make it stick.
Yeah, cooking is
what-
feeling. You know, you just get a
Well,
feel
I'm
for
glad
it.
they actually sharing that with us because a lot of people, when they write us, when they read recipes from my cookbook or other cookbook, are always concerned about not being perfect. They just didn't know if it looked good. But what you're doing right now, you're showing people really not to panic. Go with the flow.
That's
Shape
right.
it with your hands as you're going about. I mean, it's kind of giving you an enormous amount of freedom that way. Not only creatively, but it also doesn't have the sense of panic that sets in.
That's right. And if there's any holes in there, you can just take a little piece of the dough off and plug the hole up, and that'll help keep the custard from leaking out when it's baking.
I love the way you think.
Okay, so once the dough is in there,
Okay.
we're going to do what's called blind baking, which is baking the dough empty.
All right.
So that way we don't have a soggy crust when it's done. What we do with blind baking is we fill the dough with weights so that it doesn't puff up. So this is a little bit
very
of parchment.
expensive weights that they sell at the store, but you're going with rice.
Yeah, you know, the weights aren't really necessary. I like to use either dry beans or rice.
Roll with it.
Fill it up. Spread it out. That's really it. Now we take it to the oven, about 15 minutes, and we'll have a nice golden
Move that aside because I would like to tell
dough.
everybody I did this, but it's not me. You actually made it right before we got started. This is what actually the crust looks like. Now,
Yes.
what I want to do is let's clean up here real quickly. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to show you exactly how to make the filling. So what am I supposed to do with this spinach?
Okay, Nick, so I'm going to put you to work here. We're going to blanch the spinach.
I'm the one who's going to put it over
Okay,
there.
you're going to blanch the spinach. I'm
I
going to
like
talk
this
you
part.
through
You
it.
know, you come over here, I'm the one who's got to deal with the fire stuff. I could actually burn my hand. This thing could be dangerous.
So blanching is submerging it in hot boiling water just for a few moments and then taking it out and plunging it into ice water to stop the cooking.
Well, we stopped the cooking, all right.
That's right. So
And what do I... You have it there already, man.
I have finished
In other words, you
spinach
put me
here.
through this for nothing.
Well, we got to teach the people, right?
You got to... Continue, please.
Okay.
Continue. You're a rascal and some.
Okay, so now we're making the custard for filling the quiche dough as we have it. We've got 10 eggs in the blender. We're going to add spinach and put the lid on. That's very important so that we don't decorate the ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know, I just caught what you made me do before when we were like... Could you go any faster? What is that, Ferrari you going with?
Yeah, so we have to puree it till it gets nice and green and smooth looking, and we're going to aerate the eggs just a little bit. Okay? At this point, we can add milk, cream, and the seasonings. Okay?
Oh, that machine is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great blender. We've got the milk, a cup of cream.
Now, I got to ask you this. You got the milk and the cream. Why the two different type of liquids there?
You really can't have one without the other. The milk wouldn't have enough fat, and the cream would have too much, and it'd be too rich. This is a little fresh cracked pepper. And the final part is nutmeg. Fresh grated is always the best. Right on into the blender. And then one more brief spin with the top, of course. We don't want to spin it too long or the cream will break, and then we'll have to start over.
Now, I must ask you, you had at first, when there was just the eggs and the spinach, you were very high power with the spinner. And
That's
you said
right.
to every- but once you added the milk and the cream, you purposely went to the lowest speed.
That's right.
What would happen if I was to put it all the way high even? I would end up making butter?
I guess eventually you could. If you spin the cream
You
too
have
fast
a dry set of humor,
and
you know
too
that?
hot,
I
it
still
will-
got
it
you
will
from before when you were
separate them.
rolling the things so we could actually turn the table.
Yeah,
You're a rascal. You have kids at home?
I do. I
Tell
do.
me.
I have a son.
Yeah?
His name's Jonah. He's
How old
almost
is he?
3 years old.
3 years old?
Yeah, and this dish, he loves it. He asks me if I like green eggs and ham, and I say, yes, I do, Sam, I am, and it's a fun little routine we do.
So basically, this actually started almost like a little joke between you and your son. And
A
then
little bit. You know, it's a good way to get him to eat something that children might not normally eat.
I think it's lovely. But what I find actually very refreshing is the fact that you do have this at your restaurant. It's
We
part of
do.
your brunch menu.
Yes.
And you're very casual in the way you're assembling it together, but it's also very, very elegant. I'm stopping you here from the floor. Why don't you show me what else needs to
Okay,
be
so
done?
yeah, quiche it's not a very difficult thing to cook. It's easy for home cooks because, as you can see, there's no difficult techniques. We have to put cheese, this is Gruyere cheese, into the bottom of the blind baked dough, and this is smoked Virginia ham. We like to use local ham in DC.
What if, I mean, you can basically use whatever you get your hands on.
You
at
sure
this
can.
point.
Our smoked ham is very similar to speck, and it's got great flavor and ends up cooking up real nice and giving a nice salty bite to the quiche. Fill it up, it goes almost to the top, and then a little more cheese and ham right on top.
And if you don't have Gruyere, what would you say would be an excellent cheese to use instead of Gruyere?
Cheddar is great.
Okay.
Cheddar tastes great. Really, any good melting cheese, something that's a little salty, a little nutty like the Gruyere is
So
really
specific
nice.
details. The oven is preheated at what temperature?
The oven's preheated to 300 degrees.
Okay.
And then
Only 300?
That's it, 300, because if you go too hot when it's this deep, then the outside cooks too fast and the inside's not done, and it can overcook on the outside.
All right. How long are we going to keep it in the oven now?
1 hour and 40 minutes.
Now, we are going to pull it out of the oven in just a while, but I want to make sure of something. When you put it in the oven, always have a tray underneath.
It's good to have a tray in case you missed any holes and the custard leaks out of the bottom a little bit. You want to catch that so you don't have to clean your oven all day long.
Once we take it out of the oven, how long would you like to have it rested before you cut into it?
When you take it out of the oven, it's good to let it sit out at room temperature for about 20-30 minutes so it cools down and the custard sets up and it's a lot easier to slice it.
All right. Well, let's do this. I want to make sure that we clean up. You made a mess. I got to tell you, you got more pots and pans going
That's
around
my
here.
hallmark.
So we're going to clean this up. We're going to come back in just a second, and we're going to show you how to make this look exactly like this. All right. Show me you're going to plate this thing.
Okay, so first thing we do, you just cut the extra dough off the top by running the knife right along the top of the pan. And it falls away, and we can brush it right down here,
What are you doing?
feeding the dogs. Okay, there's a little release here, opens the pan. Hopefully the quiche.
Hopefully. I want to see what happens now.
Well, it's always hopefully. You never know what you're going to get.
Ah, you're pretty cool under pressure.
Separate it.
Look at this guy.
And
Nothing
lift it
breaks his
open.
concentration. Here, I'll take this
Okay.
away from you.
And there we have the quiche. We'll cut a piece.
Okay.
Okay, nice triangle. We'll get our beautiful slice onto the plate.
What if it falls off?
Yeah, it's food, you know, that's okay.
I mean, nothing breaks here. I can do nothing to make you nerve.
Okay, now just to garnish the plate, we've got some heirloom tomatoes, salt, pepper, olive oil, a little bit of purslane. This is an edible weed.
What is it called again?
Purslane, also called pig's weed. Tastes a little citrusy, a little bit sour. It's delicious, has a nice snap. Right on the plate next to it. Green eggs and ham.
This is, you know, actually, aside from the fact that you made a mess out of my kitchen, you know, the first instinct was I just could not believe you dump everything on the floor. My shoes, I have new shoes. I'm gonna have to come to
I'll get
your
you a polish.
I'm gonna come to your kitchen. I'll pay you back for this. I'm gonna make a pasta on purpose. When I flip it, it's gonna be all over the place.
Now we can get a Dustbuster sponsor.
That's what. I have to say though, I am totally admiring how cool you were, how easy it was to actually take the crust off, and I was pushing you to see where you could go. You've done a fantastic job, Denny.
Thank you
It's
for
an
having
absolute
me.
honor to have
Really
you here.
appreciate it.
You are a lot of fun. We'll see you all next week for new recipes, new friends, new chefs, and we'll teach you how to turn your home into your favorite restaurant.